Breaking Barriers.
My name is Gary Bontrager. I'm your host at Breaking Barriers podcast. I'm excited today for this next episode. We are not that far from home, and so this is an interesting one. We are sitting in the Kelderman garage, so go check them out when you get an opportunity. We'll have their information down below in the link. But with me, I have Gary Kelderman, Jeff Kelderman, and Allan DeBruin. How's that for nailing the names?
Perfect.
All right. I'm excited here to do this with you guys today because, Gary, I understand you were in truck pulling way back in the early days, and there was some technology that you did that really gave you some edges over some of your competition. And when I interview old truck and tractor pullers, one of the things we like to cover are the stories of what your innovation and technology was, because it was so much trial and error. Today, I spent a lot of time on the dyno. You guys didn't have one. So it's a very different process. So what got you started in truck pulling?
Well, I drove the Dodge pickups, and you could buy the Dodge 3/4 and 1 tons with the 440s in them.
Right.
Which was probably the most powerful gas motor out there. And that's the first thing we pulled was the 440s in the Dodge four-wheel drives. And then, of course, the Hemis came into being, and no doubt, very powerful motor. So when I got ready to build up a modified, I elected to go with the Hemi engine, and used a lot of knowledge that I'd learned from drag racing.
Okay.
Because 10 years prior to building the modified with the Hemi, I ran a B-stock automatic Mopar at Eddyville Dragway.
Right.
And won top stock 15 out of 17 weeks.
Awesome.
The first year. So, but when I built the modified for pulling, yeah, I mean, I'd like buying the camshaft. I bought my Racer Brown camshaft. Kind of gave them a few specs to go by. What RPM I wanted, peak torque, and stuff like that. And the other limitation back then was most pullers were stuck in one gear.
Right.
The Fords and Chevys were trying to go from low to second, which is too big a spread. So I built my own drop box transfer case with a 4-to-1 reduction on the rear of a 3-speed gear transmission, auxiliary. And the ratios in it basically that we used, 2 of the ratios were 15% apart. So we would watch other trucks pull in our class and decide what we thought we could get for max speed, then we'd go with that gear.
Okay.
Well, we could start any sled in second gear with our hard car torque flight. And as soon as that Hemi got up on the cam, you bumped her into drive, and you would set sail. So we were just basically getting more tire speed than anybody out there. And back in those days, when we pulled, we were probably had 90% traction.
That's what I was going to ask. You were getting the power to the ground.
Yeah.
Where a lot of guys were not hitting their sweet spot.
Now you guys are into your wheel speed and all that.
Right.
And
so let's back up real quick. A couple of things. You mentioned pulling, you did drag racing, but then you got into pulling some stock trucks. Is that what you did? And do you know about what year that was?
75.
75.
70.
Yeah, the tonner was a 75.
The 75, yeah.
Okay.
The 1 ton was
so
a
basically, and just for some background, you guys, you started Kelderman Manufacturing. And for us, just a side note for the audience to understand, I mean, you have a very engineer-driven mind, so you built and designed things. My first recollection of Kelderman was hay rakes. So that takes us back a few years, but you were already designing and improving things for years. In 75, you had your own shop already then, and were building and manufacturing things. So I just want the audience to understand what was giving you this idea of how to create and build this stuff. So what was it that you were building in the shop at that point in time that would have helped you when you're sitting there with that tonner truck, which probably was a shop truck?
Yeah, we were into the hay rakes,
Planer fold kits.
folding planters,
Okay.
planter toolbars.
And that was just out of that design and build that you were starting to figure
Years
out.
later, I designed the corn reels,
Okay.
and
Which we still make.
still make them,
Okay.
selling them.
But I just want folks to understand really your background of all that. And so that's really where you had the equipment sitting here where you could go out and design and build these things. How many years did you pull that Dodge flatbed, that tonner?
3, 4.
3 or 4.
Okay. And where were the pulls at? I know Oskaloosa had a big one in the day.
Yeah. Well, I usually put that pull on.
Oh, did you?
We pulled with Tri-State
Okay.
Association, and they always had their big finale down in Sedalia. But we pulled their pulls in Iowa, Illinois, Missouri. I don't think we ever got into Minnesota.
Yeah.
And that was with the tonner.
Basically, most of our pulls were in Iowa,
Okay.
quite a few in Missouri, northern Missouri,
In Western Illinois.
and western Illinois.
Yep.
We had a pull in western Illinois one year where I drew number 1. Sailed her out the gate. Flagman said, back up, we're going to reset it.
This was with the baby elephant.
That was with the baby elephant.
And just so
that
people
was in
know, if they're
75.
if they're looking at that one, we have it on a photo here, but part of the original is up on the wall behind us here too. So that's what started your modified truck pulling, was that one. And fortunately, Jeff, you were able to find the Jeep, or the body at least. And we'll come back to that story, but I just want to kind of give some background of what they're looking
Correct.
at when you tell this story.
Right, but you really ought to start. I mean, you talk about the gear ratio, but I mean, everything on that Jeep was kind of a first time.
Right.
Tube from square tube frame, narrowed rear axle, obviously the gear ratio, where the hitch was at, how far out the weights could be. I mean, basically, and I remember Dad building that. I was only probably 6. And we had the first part when we had moved the shop from out here, brand new building that he had put up. And then, I just remember him. I was there when they brought in it was probably a 68 or 69 Roadrunner, black one. And I remember those guys pulling the motor out and just sitting there as a little kid watching this great big Hemi motor getting pulled out and then moved over and then building it. But yeah, I just remember, because as a little kid, I just remember he always had this little book, and that was the rule book. And then he would measure with us. And then you can elaborate on that, but something built around the rule book, whereas everybody else had just a regular truck frame.
Right.
You don't have those, luxuries.
So when you built this Jeep, you did not use any of the frame there. You custom built the entire frame.
Custom built, dual rail, 2x3 rectangular tubing, and we circulated the coolant water through the frame tubes.
Okay.
Clear around, held 19.5 gallon, and worked quite well.
What if we send that thing somewhere else? Can you turn it off?
There. And the only time it really concerned me having enough coolant was after I'd pulled the sled 4 times in a row.
Okay, so let's hear that story. You went over to Illinois, right?
Well, yeah,
you know
we
what
went-
town that was in?
Rushville.
Rushville, Illinois.
First time sailed it out the gate.
And this was a 300-foot track when they would
300-foot
So
track,
then you would
yeah,
do a
there was-
full pull,
yeah.
come back again. No floating finish.
So I backed up, bucked on, sailed out the gate again. Flagman says, well, we're gonna have to reset the sled again. So I backed up, shut it off, and I said, well, I've got to flip the body. We got to see where the coolant is, make sure I can make another pull. And I says, for what it's worth, I'll guarantee you the next guy won't be able to start the sled. And he just laughed. We were good, coolant. See, you run a thermostat with a Hemi.
Right.
Because you got to build a heat in a Hemi to make power. And sailed out the gate the third time. Said, okay, well, we'll try it. So the next guy hooked on, and I think he was pretty well up in the points.
Yeah.
Couldn't start the sled. They had her weighted way too heavy. So that was quite an experience.
So you ended up pulling yet a fourth time then? Or was that the fourth time when they...
Well, I think it was the fourth time, because I know we pulled 4 times that night.
And then
And
they
I was
just-
getting pretty perturbed.
Yeah, I bet too you were. So let's talk about the baby elephant a little bit. You built that whole chassis. From what I understand, your back axle was narrowed up, so you were getting fresh dirt on both sides. We're still seeing people that are slowly going to that today.
We were in full track inside of full track.
Okay,
In other words, the front tires tracked outside the rears,
right.
which definitely was an advantage.
What was the idea behind that? I mean, that was ahead of anybody else in its time.
Well, I didn't feel like the rear tires needed to track in ruts.
Right?
And see, 30 days into the season, Tri-State called a member meeting in Hannibal, Missouri for one reason, to discuss this truck. Because, well, there's one couple about got a divorce over this deal. And called a meeting, and I mean, I swear every member attended.
Yeah.
We get down there, Tom Leishman was the Tri-State president. He got up behind the podium and says, okay, folks, we all know why we're here. It's to discuss one thing. He says, when he built this truck, he says, I swear he called me every day to make sure it was legal, everything he was doing. It's 100% legal. We got to let him run all season. There ain't nothing we can do about it. We got to let him run all season. And he said, you can make rule changes now, but they won't go into effect till next year.
Right?
And so the next year, we lengthened the frame and put a Dodge body on it and changed the name to the Outlaw.
So the baby elephant only ran one season.
Ran one season with that body.
Okay.
I
And
extended the frame tubes, and they had limited tire tracking to 50%.
okay.
So I had to change my rear rims,
Yeah.
but just stuff like that.
Okay. What were some other things? You did the gear reduction, you did the rear axle, the tube frame. What were some other things that you did?
Well, we elected to use the CJ5 body because the rule book that year stated the hitch could not be any shorter than the body part behind the rear axle.
Right.
Well, in the Jeep, there ain't much back there.
Right.
So we could run a shorter hitch to keep
Right.
from lightening up your front so bad.
And get the balance where you
Yeah.
wanted it.
In fact, in the 6,200-pound class, we had to leave one front hub locked to even drive it around. Because you could walk around behind the machine in the 6,200-pound
Pick it
class,
up.
grab the loop and pick it up.
And you know, the crazy thing is today you can do that to all of them.
And now
you started
see,
something.
You see,
Yeah.
you see them jump
In fact, that's
clear
why
up
they
in
have
the
those
air.
rollers up under the front
Conveyor rollers
because
in the
they're
front.
on them all the time
Yeah.
when they're trying to back up. So-
Brings back memories.
Yeah. So, well, you advanced the sport clearly with a lot of that. Allan, you were just mentioning a story a little bit, and I want you to share that with us of what really was the beginning of the baby elephant.
Well, I don't know if it's totally the beginning, but I do remember we had been bike riding one day. Remember down in the Des Moines River, I believe, from sandbar to sandbar. We stopped at the pizza den on the way back, and Gary got to sketching out this transfer case thing and building the tube frame idea, and sketched out the transfer case and the gear ratios between the different gears and the automatic, and then what this would do and going through the 3-speed. and then with the reduction of the chain, how close the ratios would be. And yeah, we sketched that all out on a napkin while we were waiting for lunch to come.
So it started with a napkin, the technology on that. When you, but you were already starting to build it, or that was the beginning phase then of you building that?
Hadn't started yet then.
Okay. And then the transmission, I know a lot of guys were beefing up those automatics. Were you needing to do that at that point already?
Well, the Roadrunner that I bought to rob the engine and tranny out of was a drag car.
Okay.
So it had an art car torque flight in it,
Okay.
which was perfect
Right.
because lock-up converter, and when they shift, I mean,
They shift hard.
so, and I knew we would be starting the sled in second gear and setting sail in third. So good combination. And it worked great.
So when you went with the Dodge truck, the Dodge body the next year, you extended the frame. What'd you have to do with the hitch? Were you able to move fender well, move the box?
Nope, we had to, you couldn't alter the fender wells back then.
Okay.
So we had to go to the pickup standard setting for hitch length. And it didn't handle quite as well, but I remember a lot of other pullers make the comment, he says, well, you can still see the baby elephant in the way that thing goes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It did slow it down a little bit then.
a little.
Yeah. What was some other hitch technology that you used? Was it just more or less the length of it? You weren't really doing anything with angles or anything at that point? How it was fastened
Just
or
length
anything?
and height is, everybody had to be identical. you know.
Right, right.
So,
Interesting.
we always tried to keep as much weight out front as far as we were allowed. And
How many years did you campaign the truck then?
We needed two.
two more years.
We had three total, if I remember.
And we got so busy in the factory that I decided, well, I better grow the company and while we can.
And let the hobbies go.
Yeah.
So you just kind of cut back on the hobbies. Do you have any idea, well, what, do you know what, with the baby elephant, I would assume you won the points series that year.
Oh yeah. We won the points by 2-1 margin.
Yeah.
At least.
Okay. Do you know how many wins you had that year with the baby elephant?
Oh man. 40 some.
Yeah.
So if you
I
had
think
40
we were hoping we'd hit 50. But we
Okay.
didn't quite make it. I'm guessing around 46, 47.
So how many second, third, fourth place finishes did you have, or did you just pretty much win if you showed
Very
up?
few.
Unless it was a problem. You were
Yeah, I mean,
Then when you run Wednesday and then Friday and Saturday?
there was times there's times we'd pull in the afternoon because we pulled 3 trucks,
Okay.
including the tow truck. They're on that picture.
Okay.
And we'd load everything up and drive 100 miles for an evening pull.
Right.
And we'd just pull the 1 ton and the baby elephant because we didn't have time to do all the alterations on the tow truck. So we had a lot of times we pulled twice in one day.
So you kept pulling the 1 ton even after the baby elephant was built, and then the towing truck you pulled too.
Yeah, if we had time.
Well, the one time was points champion too.
Yeah,
Okay.
we were leading the points in both modified and stock.
And what'd you do to the 1 ton to get an advantage?
The Dodge 300s came with 488 gears, and then you run the right diameter tire,
You could get it hooked up.
you get her.
1 ton basically had a wore out motor in it. It ran.
See, because that truck was purchased to pull a fertilizer spreader, just fifth wheel in the
Right.
fields, brand new, full load of fertilizer, back and forth. And I mean, that was torture.
Right.
But it broke the motor in for max power, and with the gear ratios and everything we had with it, and you run the right tire size,
Still did well.
everything works out.
We could go to pulls with that 1 ton and win the modified class.
Really? Well, the modifieds back then, what were a lot of those guys doing?
Big block Chevys.
Yeah, just big block Chevys.
And then
big
just,
block
they weren't
Fords.
doing a lot of modification to them then. They were
No.
just putting on some aggressive tires probably and adding a little weight.
Zoomies, wild exhausts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nothing,
Fancy
nothing
paint.
too crazy.
Which reminds me, we put a set of zoomies on this Hemi once.
Mm-hmm.
And we went to Missouri that evening to pull. What town was that down there? But anyway, I think I was the first puller out, wasn't I?
Yeah, it was just across the line a little ways, wasn't it?
Yeah. And with the zoomies, it would richen the carbs a little.
Okay.
So you had to kind of tickle the throttle to get her to come on.
Yep.
But when it came on, you got to hang on. I ripped down through there, and mine, at 100 feet, I mean, I'm 30 mile an hour. Whoa, something's wrong. The sled must not be working. And I literally turned around and looked back. And who was the sled guy? He's waving his hand. And then I look up, and the flagman's got the red flag out. So, and I look up, and here's a concrete wall with a Pioneer seed sign on it.
Oh boy.
And I have set sail. And I had to meter this thing
Right. So it
to
did.
get everything stopped.
Because the sled was running up on him.
That's what I figured.
Because the box didn't come up.
That's what it was.
It broke the bearing castings at the front of the dual chains. Broke them. And she came back, and the weight box wasn't coming up.
Oh no. That end the pull for the night, or they got it?
It did. And because they didn't have a spare sled.
No.
And I had, early the next morning, I had my accountant from the office drive to Des Moines, get a pair of bearings, run down to Missouri with him, and the guy repaired the sled. And he has never forgot that. Every time I saw him after that, he,
Who was the sled operator?
iron
Ironsides?
sights.
That name comes up some. He operated. It was a mechanical sled, and it would have been ramped right yet. It wasn't a flat one. It was one of the old style. For you guys to hit 30, do you have any idea what your typical track speed was back then?
Oh, probably in the 20s.
Okay. Because the way they're built today, it's not uncommon. I mean, we're trying to hit 30 plus every chance you get, but usually you can kind of get the front of the sled to pick up in the beginning and get a good launch, you know. It's a little bit more of a different drag race than what you guys had.
A couple guys in Lakesburg owned the sled, and they brought it in one winter to my shop, and I put a folding gooseneck on it so they could fifth wheel it
Okay.
and tow it down the road on its own tires.
How were they doing it before?
They were on low, weren't they?
I think they had it loaded on a lowboy.
Okay.
Whatever they were doing was a lot of work.
Which today they pull all of them with a semi-tractor.
Right.
I mean, that's set up. So you kind of designed some of that technology as well then. Wow.
Yeah.
A lot of innovation. When you always pulled though a mechanical sled, and when they were weighting those boxes, what were they doing? Did they put tractors on them, or what were
We
they?
did pull one hydraulic sled. Leishmitz built that sled
That's right.
that had a hydraulic pump.
Okay.
But you get too many variables.
Right. That's what the problem.
And a lot of people are on their case because
You can change
he would
pressures.
stop one machine, one puller up here at 180, and if you looked where the weight box was, and the next one, he'd go 200, and the weight box wasn't that far.
Right.
So
Couldn't get the
it was
consistency.
a variable there.
Oil would heat differently. And
Get that
things
with
like
hydraulics.
Answer your question, they put suitcase weights in the
That's
in a
what they
box.
did in the box. Okay. I think I've seen that sled. It was used for quite a few years. I know the early mechanical sleds, they were putting tractors on them, and sometimes you'd see like they put them on the pan in the front, and then you
Yeah.
had some weights behind it. And there was a lot of variations of that. I didn't know, but you always pretty much pulled that one there. Then that sled for the most part, or variations of it.
There was about 3 sleds we pulled, I'm going to think.
Okay.
See, I think Bauer built their first one about the time we were.
which he builds a lot of them today.
Yeah. Oh man.
They're
Yeah, he hit on the right thing.
Yeah, and he builds a lot of other stuff too, but that's one of the things he's into. When you went to the truck and you ran it, the first year out with the truck, it slowed you down some. Do you have any idea though how many wins you got with that one?
We still won the points.
You mean the
With
Dodge?
the
Outlaw, yeah.
Mr. Dodge?
The Outlaw.
No, Mr. Dodger's the green one.
Yeah.
The Outlaw.
Yeah, the
You're talking
Outlaw.
about the Outlaw.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there's a reason we don't have any pictures of that. Because the factory burnt down in '82.
This
And
factory.
all
and
of
it
the
was in
trophies, all the articles, any video. This is all that we have left.
there. Really?
It's it.
I had fired a welder that had stolen some stuff from a John Deere dealer at Waterloo that I'd sent him up there to do some work.
Right.
He died in jail, but he burned my factory down.
Oh my goodness.
He bragged about it.
Wow. Well, if any of you watching this have any photos, I know it's only a small window of time, but even if it's the flatbed Dodge, the baby elephant, the Outlaw, please reach out to us and let us know. The family would love to have some of those photos back if you've got any in your collection somewhere.
In the day too.
Yeah.
That was early. That was early video. Late
Yeah.
late '70s.
When the factory burned down, the trophy cases in the office were full.
Oh my goodness.
383 trophies from drag racing, bike racing, and truck pulling.
Wow.
Melted them all.
That's too bad. You lost every one of them.
I've got a couple of 4-footers at home
Yeah.
that
So the bike racing or motorcycle racing, just to clarify, because today when people say bike, it means a couple different things. Some people pedal them.
Dirt bike enduros.
Okay, that's what you race
Motorcycle
is
enduro,
motorcycles.
AMA.
Okay. And I don't know what effect that makes. I know personally I raced motocross and worked a lot on hole shots. And I can tell you the first time I won on a pulling tractor, everybody's like, what it feel like? And I said, I just did a whole shot. It was just the way it felt in the seat, the brake, the clutch, everything. I mean, it was my foot instead of both my hands.
I
But
believe it was 1968. I was the AMA District 22
yep,
points champion, open class air scrambles.
really? Wow. Well, that's the district I ran in. I didn't.
fact-
I ran motocross. I didn't do the hair scrambles.
I own a farm north of Fremont, and there has been an AMA sanctioned race there every year for the last 20 some years.
Yep. I
I
think
let them. It's a river farm,
yes.
so they race through the bluffs.
right.
Good for
Perfect
enduros
for
and stuff.
that. Yeah.
And that Fremont club still
Still runs that.
20 some years they've been at it.
So, for the most part, you've been successful about everything you've touched in life, right?
Fortunately,
Fortunately. Well, that doesn't happen by accident. There's a lot of work and preparation that goes into it. So even with motorcycles, did you do much with modification on those? I know it's off the topic of pulling, but I'm just curious to know where you started to get your ability.
the bike I won the points with, it was a chrome ollie tube frame with a Vantec front end, and I ran Kernet shocks on both ends because they custom build them for your weight
Right?
and the type of racing you do.
So the frame you bought or you built that?
It was a bottom
Bought
frame,
Okay. So
super lightweight.
put a lot of effort into
Yeah.
that one. And then the motor just ran a stock motor?
The
pretty
motor
much?
was based,
Power roll.
started as a 350 Honda with a power roll stroker,
Okay.
which made it 412.
And then did you do much with porting and that kind of thing on it? Not a
Didn't
whole
have
lot.
to.
Yeah, had plenty of
Didn't
power.
have to.
If you're that size with that kind of stroke, you have a lot of low end.
It had torque that wasn't quite.
Yeah, yeah. Interesting. And then after that, you got into drag racing. And were you just doing like street stock cars, or what did you end up doing on the drag racing side?
I only lived 3 miles from the Eddyville Dragway back when I was drag racing in
Right,
the 60s, 67.
right.
I had purchased a Hemi lightweight 64 Plymouth
Right.
without the engine.
Okay.
It was an old, previously owned by Gary Ostrich.
Oh, really?
the Hemi builder,
Yep.
and I put a 383 in it.
Okay.
So initially I had all the advantages of the lightweight car with the suspension setups that Gary Ostrich had done to it.
Okay.
And we virtually won every drag race in the first 10 feet.
So you already had the car, the chassis was set up for you when you bought it, and you just had to build a motor and
I built a 383,
right.
automatic racer brown cam, and
What year
Yeah.
time frame was that?
67.
67. So did you ever put a
67.
Hemi in there?
No.
Never did.
No.
Okay. So what's behind the Dodge? You've been your family seems to be Dodge
Well,
people.
my first performance car was a 60 Plymouth
Okay.
that actually came from the factory with the 383 and the long ram intakes,
Okay.
and the carburetors were 3 feet apart.
Oh wow.
And one carb fed this bank, the other carb fed this bank. But the owner that had it, somebody had took the long ram off, because it's the only way you could get a 383 in 1960 was with long ram.
Right.
And I saw this car parked in a carport. I'd see it every Sunday on my way to church, a block from the church. So finally one day I stopped and asked if he'd be interested in selling it. Well, yeah, it takes way too much gas. So I popped the
What was
hood.
gas at that point?
Check the
30
numbers.
cents a gallon?
Yeah,
Not much.
I checked the numbers right on the front of the block on that Mopar. It's 383.
So you knew it was right.
And it had the cast iron exhaust manifolds that had the two-bolt lake
Yep.
pipe style part, and that's where they ran the heat tube down to for the carb pot
Right.
on those long ramps.
Right.
This car came with a 383.
Right.
Used to have the long ram. So just a few years later after that, and that's back when we were just street racing,
Right.
and that car would hold its own against 300 horse 327s.
Okay. Because you were right. That was in the heat of the muscle car era coming
Yeah.
on right in that period of time. So
So
that got you
we did
started
a lot
in
of
the
street
performance.
racing back then, and
A little different than
Yeah.
Fast and Furious today.
No cell phones.
No.
No cameras back then.
Yeah.
Everybody knows where to be at what time on a Friday or Saturday night, right?
And if we get into a chase, we'll meet up later.
So I'm guessing back then the cops were probably, as long as they were out in the country in the middle of nowhere,
we had in
people would
64,
live miles away.
64 with that 64 Plymouth, or 67 with the 64 Plymouth. We had a match race against Tommy Johnson Jr. at Eddyville Dragway. No, Tommy Johnson
Senior.
Jr.'s dad.
Yeah.
His dad. Best 2 out of 3.
And you got him?
We beat him 2 straight.
So, Allan, I got to ask you, you've been hanging out here and interjecting a little bit, and I know that you and Gary have been friends. Tell me a little bit about the beginning of your relationship.
I guess we just started riding bikes together. And then he, like I said, he expressed the idea of building this modified, and I had kept up with him while he was pulling the old 75, and been around a little bit. And I had some time on my hands and helped him put the baby elephant together. And so spent some weekends and long nights, no sleep.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, when you're running 3 trucks with 2 guys, yeah, that's full-time job along with one guy.
You
But
saw the photo.
I remember you guys. Yeah, I remember because you were riding old. Was that a 754 chopper that you had?
Yeah.
I remember because I was just a little kid running around here, and back then, everybody has the choppers rolling in and out of here, and Harleys and the Hondas and muscle cars, and everything that came around our house may not have been open headered, but it was close.
It was loud.
There was nothing quiet, and I remember. I'd be, first grade, laying in bed, and then these guys would be out here working on this, and then all of a sudden, boom, it'd fire up, and it's just like, open the window and lay back down. 'Cause that's all I grew up around is the hot rods and motorcycles and
Hot rod music.
Yeah. Remember I remember 404 when the day that came out as a little kid. I still remember because everybody's out in the shop. Listen to this. This is good stuff. And 8 tracks in the stereo. And I remember where they built this. And I remember, the day after Matrician painted it. I remember picking up the little Dixie cups with all the little paint, and picking up that area and throwing all that stuff. But I remember sitting here at the school. But I'd get off school bus and these guys would be sitting in the driveway here waiting. And I would just jump in the back because we had, at one point you had a 4-door. Yep. Because then at one point you had that 4-door truck.
We hauled the.
Don't the gear shift clear down low? Yeah. So, sometimes they would just have.
You need to elaborate on that.
Yeah. Well, you can tell the story better. I don't, but I just remember that was the theft deterrent device.
This was the tow truck that you guys actually pulled some as well.
Well, no.
We built a tow truck to haul nothing but the modified on it.
Oh, okay.
And it started out a Dodge Hunter that got lengthened with a well type chassis on it so that the unit would set down in it. But then it had to
bounce it up over the wheel.
Drive up over the wheels and set down in low. But it had a 440 with an automatic, of course, but it had a Browning 3-speed behind it. So when you got in the pits, you'd put that Browning, and it had a lever with a motorcycle grip on it. We had to have a motorcycle grip on the lever. Right here beside your right leg, you'd shove that into low, and you'd pick up your RPM and drive around in second in the pits, and everybody else is slipping the wheels and the clutch and everything else. We'd get out on the highway, and they'd all be running with us, and then we'd just drop it into overdrive on that 3-way, and we'd cruise on.
You're not only going to beat them at the track, you're going to pass them all when you're leaving the track.
You don't know how many times in the last 5-6 years I've come this close to calling Scheid Diesel, having them build me a 6.7.
Well, you might as well. You've done everything else.
Oh,
They do it. They do a great job.
and I keep thinking about, look at the transmission options you can go with
Oh
now.
gosh, it's nothing what you had
But
back.
you need to change that overall ratio so you can make use of all those lower gears you got.
Right. No, you need to do that. That'd be
Oh,
a good
man.
thing for you.
I remember though, by the time he got out though, you guys didn't have many friends on the circuit.
Not in the truck pulling circuit.
I mean, I remember as a little kid, I remember arguments. I remember guys coming over and screaming at Dad and Allan. I remember, my uncle, Tom, he also ran a few events too. So you'd have a few more guys in the pits, him and Bud, and then I remember, they had little cousins, and I don't know if me and my cousins were trash talking because we were just little punks or because we knew we were going to win, but we didn't have many friends in the pits either. But I remember toward the end, I remember cops being around. I remember guys telling me everybody to get the hell out of here. I remember police escorts out of town. I mean, it was getting to the point where, you're into running around and beating people that bad for so long.
They were sick of it.
Then you guys got engine torn down a few times and what?
Well, yeah, and the 440 was. We pulled at Harlan, Iowa one year with the baby elephant.
Yeah.
And that was the North Iowa pullers.
Right.
Had to join. Blew them away. Boy, they didn't like that. And I never heard any more from them. They never sent a newsletter. I get a call from the service manager of the Dodge dealer up in northern Iowa who pulled a Dodge stock pickup. He said, "Hey, did you get an invitation to the Clay County Fair?" He said, "You been getting the newsletter?" I said, "No." He says, "Well, I can believe that." He said, "Would you believe you're in the top 10 in points from doing that one pull at Harlan and winning? You're qualified to pull at the Clay County Fair." And his boss, the dealer, said, "We'll put your fuel in to get you here."
So of course, they wanted to Dodge out front.
Mm-hmm.
We show up at the Clay County Fair. Oh, were they upset. They didn't think I knew about it. And we won. And I told Al, I said, "Now when their points leader, when he pulls, you go down there and make sure they put the flag in the right place, because they're liable to put it back thinking
Right.
When I go by it, I'll let off. So he did. So anyway, we won. Didn't get my money for 2 weeks. Finally came in the mail. They wouldn't pay us that night. We load the truck up.
They were trying to figure out if you were cheating or what?
We load the truck up, and deputy sheriff pulls up. He says, "You boys staying in town tonight?" I said, "Nope, I'm driving back to Tuscaloosa." He says, "Okay." He says, "I'll escort you out of town." He said, "You got some people really pissed off."
So he came and found you.
And so we got loaded up and we hit the road. He followed us 20, 30 miles, make sure nobody.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Well, the thing I hear a lot is back in the day, a lot of the pullers would travel together, but doesn't sound like that happened for you guys. You were
Yeah,
kind of
see,
the
we
Lone
didn't normally
Ranger.
pull with North Iowa, but
Right. But I mean, even in general, like a lot of the,
We did in Missouri. We
Yeah.
would run with
yeah.
a
those
couple
guys
of
would
other
probably,
guys.
there's other guys close to this area that would have ran with you maybe.
They were actually down from around St. Louis, those guys.
Was it Barnett?
Barnett's.
Barnett. He ran a black Hemi, right?
Yep.
Black. So yeah. Well, because most guys were running. Was there that many Dodges? I mean, there was. Chevy
there-
was the most popular.
Yeah.
If I remember. Right.
That's the day you pull. I think Barnett was sitting there at about 295. Who was the other Hemi?
Well, Max
Max.
Smith. Had
Yeah,
run
I
them
think he
Zunis.
was 293 or so.
So you guys were pulling trucks, and truck pulling was just coming in at that point in time. Modifieds, or hot rods, as they were probably called back then, was kind of a thing too that was really developing. At that time, though, the hot rods were running off of ag tractor chassis in the back that were stretched out, and some of them eventually ended up with Hemis, and either they were doing different axles and with the low frames then, but they still had the tall frames at that point in time as well, didn't they? Because there were a few guys in that started running Hemis, even in the.
It was shortly after that. Big John Strothman. I remember we were in his shop and he had a complete planetary setup and a different frame. He was the beginning of the switch.
So really, what you did is no different than what these guys are doing today. It's just you did it about 20 years before the rest of them did. I mean, a lot of them ran just standard chassis and maybe or frames and beefed them up some, but you custom built it from front to back. So gave you a huge advantage. On the motor side at that point in time, you had camshaft that you said you messed with. Fuel, what were you doing on fuel back then?
Was that a race gas motor?
We ran a little bit of avgas.
Yeah.
And they weren't testing any fuel at that point. It was kind of a free-for-all.
Well, they didn't have any limitations really.
Yeah. A little bit jealous of you.
Some of it's not very good.
Yeah, because I hear stories of guys adding a lot of alcohol and things like that and burning holes in pistons because they got a little carried away with it.
Too hot of a mix.
Right. They just got a little nuts with it. So then you were carbureted, of course. Were you running some aftermarket stuff or just running kind of the factory setup?
With tunnel rams.
We ran the tunnel ram with
The Carters?
dual Carters.
Okay.
1150s.
I had good luck
weren't
with the Carters drag racing.
Were they 1150s, two of them?
they? Two 1150s, I think.
Okay.
We used a gallon,
that would've
gallon and 300 feet.
Yeah,
How big was the fuel tank on that? I don't remember where it was. Was it in the back?
5 gallon.
Is that what it was?
Yeah.
Do you know what you burnt in a pass?
I'm thinking that there may have been that one time, like when you pulled 4 times. Well, we'd pull 2 classes,
Yeah.
So would you have modified than super modified?
just the
Weights.
modified and the stock.
But you would have had different weight classes possibly?
Yeah, there was a 55 and a 6000.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because we always laughed at the 5500 in the stock class. The Chevys all took their seats out to get light enough, you know.
Right. You'd had no trouble with the way you had built the truck.
Well, you can see, I mean, I think on that picture I counted one time, I think there's 20 weights on the front of that.
There was. They were 100 pounds each.
And the weird thing is, if you look at it, the front axle it's not 50% from the front axle, but it is close.
Yeah, and you didn't hang the weights off of the bracket and stick forward. We turned them around the other way
Right.
so that you
back.
went out as far as you could with maximum.
Right.
Okay, so you made the front of, from front to back, the weights turned around backwards was the
Yeah. So
the
there
measurement
was a
point.
distance from the front
But
axle.
where they hung was then the weight pressure point would have been all the way to the front.
On the front
So you
axle.
could get it
Right, the load
on the
point
front.
was clear
It was
out
on
there.
Way out on the front. Which there again, that's just interesting on
It's just
on
one
the
of those.
technology, and
little
you know,
things.
it's just the leverage principle is what it comes down to, and it's what a lot of it is today. So, did you guys do much with any rake or anything in the chassis as far as didn't mess with any of that stuff yet at that point? Kept it level.
Remember what the gear ratio was at? Was it 488?
Yeah.
Because that's the
Yeah,
biggest you could probably get.
76.
So what was it, Dana?
And
The
then
Indiana
horsepower.
70s.
And then horsepower. Do you have any idea what you would have had in that Hemi at that point?
Dual tunnel rams? That'd be in the 500s.
It had to be at least 6.
Okay. Which would have been a lot for that
Back
time
then.
frame, yeah. So the tunnel ram system was a factory Dodge tunnel ram too. There was nothing aftermarket that you put in that would have.
Oh, that was
The Wheeland, wasn't it?
Edelbrock,
Okay, so
Was
it
it
wasn't.
Wheeland or Edelbrock?
Okay.
one of those.
Was it on the Roadrunner when you pulled it out? Or did you put it on?
No, I think you put it on.
Okay. Well, the interesting part, even with the wheels narrowing up, I mean, not only are you going in the other track, it's where all the loose dirt's already been, so you're not gaining much.
Backwards?
We did,
And I think in this
There's
photo it
pictures of it
shows that
On the
yeah.
front.
yeah.
When the front's backwards?
Yeah. Which really messed with their minds.
But what did it give you an advantage? What'd you learn off of that?
Mainly to get a new sharp edge.
Okay. So you were just looking for the sharp edge. It wasn't so much, and you weren't cutting tires at that point yet.
No, we never did.
And then what type of tires were you running? There's probably a limit on width and height, right? At that point, or could you pretty much run what you
Well,
want?
there's pictures of it with some
No,
really
you
big
run-
tires on it once.
No,
I don't think they had a tire size limit.
Really?
it was like the last year or something, they may have limited the tire size, but
I think those were those
because the
just
stock
50
pickups ran the real little ones.
Right. They're like skid loader tires.
Yeah.
And think of a skid loader tire in the 70s. I mean, they were like a 14-inch rim.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the only reason you flipped them around was just to get a sharp edge. It wasn't that you were cutting them yet at that point.
I don't think we flipped the rears, did we?
No.
Okay.
No,
Interesting.
we might put the,
The
wheels on
first
the front.
first
backwards.
time I ever hooked on a sled with that 75, I had a pair of bar tires laying around off of a hay mower,
Oh, really?
and nobody had ever put bar tires on a pickup.
Right.
And they had pickup pull in bussy.
Yeah.
We bolted them suckers on. Truck had a flatbed.
And you're talking, when you say mower, you're talking a self-propelled.
Yeah,
You took yeah,
but they weren't very wide.
right.
And at that pole, we actually had guys sitting on the flatbed to get our total legal weight. And we hooked on
This
the
is
sled.
what
Fire
this
suits
was
and
with the
helmets too,
tonner.
right?
That was the maiden voyage.
That was your first pull with the tonner, the old shop truck,
Yeah.
and you
Got a
ended
case
up
of beer,
doing
it's 24 more pounds.
That's interesting. And they let you. Well, you probably went down the track at 8-10 mile an hour, maybe, but still.
See, that thing, it had mid-range torque was unreal. And it would just hang in there. And the poor converter would just take a beating.
Right.
But you just keep going.
So the interesting thing is, I remember hearing stories of when they were going from like a 4 mile an hour to 6 mile an hour speed limit. Back in the early days and starting to go with mechanical sleds, they were having meetings because they thought we're getting into such high speeds that it's getting dangerous and people are going to get hurt. Today it's, this summer I seen one hit, I think 38, 39.
Well, Mike Hall was talking about 30,
Yeah. Yeah.
32.
Yeah. That's pretty.
We clocked him at Sigourney.
Yeah. Yep. He had a good one. There,
Well, you were coming off of the wooden sleds then, the guys,
Right.
at every marker they stepped on.
Yeah, people were still getting on, and they were going, "Gosh, we hit 6 mile an hour. We can't let them get faster than that." But we want to thank Bob Parks with Custom Tire Cutting and the Parks Pullers for supporting the Breaking Barriers podcast. Their product speaks for itself. It has helped us get many wins, as well as many other pullers out there. Check them out and try their product. You will not be disappointed. Thanks again for your support at Breaking Barriers Podcast. Looking back over all of that technology, was it one of those things? I want to ask this question. Step back here a minute. Where'd you go to school at? Where'd you go to like high school at?
Oskaloosa.
Okay. And then when you got out of high school, did you go to college? No college. So you don't have an engineering degree. That's what I'm trying to get at. I think a lot of times folks are, today you get into motorsports. I mean, we've got engineers on all these racing teams and things like that. But a lot of that stuff back then was just grassroots, trial and error, and starting to figure out, how does leverage work and things like that.
Well, my dad was a gear brain,
Okay.
and I remember when he bought the first good welder, was a stick welder. I was 9 years old, and that's when I started welding.
Okay.
But I'll never forget that day.
So before you get to that story, what did your dad do for an occupation?
Farm.
He was a farmer.
Dairy farm.
So then you guys just did a lot of your own repair work on the farm. And then when he bought that welder, what was about that day that you recall?
Well, this Forney welder had a battery charger in it,
Okay.
which was quite an advancement for welders. But it had more variables to work with, and you could do nicer welds. But I think I built some steel gates was the
Okay.
first thing I built with welders.
Okay.
But
And you were 9.
9 years old, yeah.
Okay. And back then you had a chop saw. How were you cutting pipe back then?
Oh,
How it torch.
cut-off wheel.
Cut-off wheel? Did you
Yeah.
have a cut-off wheel? Yeah. No, so you really grew up
We
being able to be creative.
quit, I think I quit patent applications at what, 36 of them?
No, there's been a lot of them.
You quit what?
Patents.
Oh,
Designing and
patents.
filing for patents.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. And that's just a lot on ag equipment and suspensions or anything else you were building. Okay. So from the farm and building gates at 9 years old, you kind of got out of high school. Did you stay on the farm? Did you get into manufacturing right away?
Started manufacturing in 72.
Well, back in high school, you'd take your
South
IBM aptitude test, though, right?
Yeah.
And they wanted to send you to school because you'd scored so high. And Dad's going to school, and I think it was, what'd you say, out east somewhere, where IBM headquarters was. I was like, I'm not going to that. He stuck around here.
So they were trying to send you out to some engineering school? Okay. Well, you had a pretty good life right here in Oskaloosa without going and doing that. But then I guess but when you got off the farm, what'd you do? I mean, what was your progression in your fabrication?
Oh, I think the first big thing we built was the big floater lime spreaders.
Okay.
I built those in the four-wheel drive, four-wheel steers.
So you were taking truck chassis and modifying them, or you were
No.
building them
No,
from
these are big
scratch?
semi chassis.
I built those frames.
Okay.
Built the first big lime spreaders that would hold 20 ton.
Okay.
Run the big cat motors, 3406s,
Yep.
four-wheel drive, four-wheel steers.
Did you run any of those?
The last
thought you did.
several I built had the 73-inch steer tires.
Okay.
Then, 40 years ago, we built a lot of the planter toolbars, but one of the farm customers in Crawfordsville, Indiana, after I'd done his planter and his cultivator, and I actually drove to his shop and did all the modification, welding and everything. He was in the lime sludge business, using big A stuff. And he got me off in the corner and he says, "Would you build me a big lime spreader?" I said, "I want one that'll hold a semi-tanker load of lime sludge." So this took a lot of finagling. but I built him a lime spreader, or a lime sludge applicator that would hold 8,000 gallon of lime sludge.
Oh my goodness.
4-wheel drive, 4-wheel steer.
And 4-wheel steer, you're talking it had 2 axles on the front, or was it rear steer?
Just 4-wheel, and then they steered
In
opposite.
the back, yep.
Full-time opposite steer. And bought a brand new 1000 series Stagger tractor cab and hood, lengthened their hood. Twin disc, their biggest transmission at that time, because that 1100 cubic inch Cummins was 525 horse.
Right.
With that 12-speed power shift. That's been over 40 years ago. And when we got together on it, I said, well, I'll do it by the hour and cost plus. He said, okay, but he said, I want my son to come to Iowa. We'll find him a place to live. And I want him to work on the machine with you. We had to teach him how to weld. And he did. We finished that machine at a cost of $250,000. And he and I drove that machine to Crawfordsville, Illinois.
Indiana.
Or Indiana, excuse me. And I mean, it really made it for that guy because he was so efficient.
Right.
And we had it set up for 10-inch plumbing or 6-inch.
Okay.
Take your pick. He could load the machine out of his lagoon at the farmstead in 3 minutes.
Oh my goodness.
Put a full load on. His sons took over the business. Just before he died, they called me. I ended up going to his funeral. But they auctioned the machine off because they went to a drag hose system.
Right.
And the local John Deere dealer had done the service on it for 30-some years. And when it sold at auction, the dealer bought it. He said, that went too cheap for what it is. And at that time, it had 20-some thousand hours on it.
Oh my goodness.
He bought it. A guy out of southeast Iowa went to Indiana and bought it.
Really?
It is operating in southeast Iowa yet.
Is it?
With 29,000 hours on it. They call it the Behemoth.
I would imagine.
And he says, never quits.
Just works like a top.
And I remember the original owner told me once, he said, yeah, he says, I was at his place for his son's wedding.
Right.
He says, don't go back there and look at the toolbox. I said, why? He said, the lid won't open. It's rusted.
Oh, really?
They never opened the toolbox, so the lid rusted shut. So
what was
that machine after 40-some years.
So what was your theory going through building equipment like that? You build pulling trucks, drag cars, motorcycles. When you set out to do something or build something, what is it that Gary Kelderman's thinking about that's going to make this better than what somebody else has?
I think the biggest word is efficiency. Just.
So the quality had to be there. It had to be well built, and then how to effectively operate.
Yeah, I mean, we were in the lime business for a lot of years, building the big floaters. And I can guarantee you, I'm the only guy that spread over 1,000 ton of ag lime in one day with one machine, one driver.
Just because of the equipment you built.
Efficiency.
Yeah.
We'd load that machine. We had 7 dump trucks hauling. We were in one big field that took a little over 1,000 ton. And we had the truck driver trained when they backed up to the lime conveyor, which we designed. It was all wireless control.
Right.
I never had them open the cab door, hit the buttons. The conveyor ran wide open. Those trucks would be sitting there with the box raised up about 8 feet. And as soon as they saw the belt move, They trip their tailgate, run the box on up, and in 60 seconds, the whole load's on the spreader.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
So then they were just fast as you could get it moving.
And I still have that conveyor.
Oh, do you?
In fact, the local John Deere dealer here decided we needed a bike trail around Oskaloosa, 20 plus miles. Well, they tried using a little Super Creep tractor pulling the laydown box.
Right.
Well, they had to run the ready-mix truck beside the laydown box, and they were taking the 25-foot swaths through people's backyards.
Right.
He got a hold of me. He said, we got to do something different. He said, we got to get this down to about 12 feet. The next day I walked past this conveyor and I'm looking at it. You know, it's got a 200 horse Cummins, hydrostatic drive.
And you were pouring concrete? Yeah.
I mean, they prepped the
Right.
track with a dozer,
Right.
and all you had to do was follow that path. So I called him, I said, hey, bring the laydown box out. So we put the box underneath the back, behind the engine, and then I had to build a chute from the discharge forward into
Right.
the box. And I made hangers, because that discharge was hydraulic, so you could raise and lower box and
Right.
everything. And that conveyor had a John Deere combine transmission.
Okay.
It had a John Deere cab.
Right.
You could drive it right down the highway. It's 45 feet long. We took it in, and one Saturday morning, did about 1,000-foot section in just a few hours.
Oh my goodness.
And I let the city use it for 8 years,
And they poured the
because I had 2 of them,
Right. They poured the entire
and they
trail.
poured that whole bike trail.
Excellent.
I think now the Recreation Foundation is going to buy the conveyor from me, because we sold our
Yeah.
line plant.
So if you look back over your career of motorsports, what are some highlights that you'd like to talk about?
Many.
Well, let's hit a few of them.
There's too many. I think one of the first things I built was a Bucket T Roadster,
Okay.
street rod, with the 426 Mopar,
Yep.
with the pair of long ramps,
Okay.
which was always quite an attraction. But in fact, he and his brothers owned it after I sold it. I sold it to him. I think he needs to track it down. But anyway, yeah, I mean, just been a Mopar man all my life.
Okay.
And when they come out with the Amis, that sealed it.
Yep.
But
I mean, you had 3 of them. You had motorsports or motorcycles. You did really well there. I mean, that's a big accomplishment just there alone.
snowmobiles.
You got in. Did you race those some as well? Not an organized.
No, but I love to go to the mountains and go
Yeah.
to the top and
Do all that.
get caught in avalanches. And they flew me off the mountain once in a helicopter.
Oh, really? So that's a memorable moment in motorsports.
Well, another snowmobile ran over me.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. So Jeff learned all his adrenaline rush from you, evidently. So then the other one, you got into drag racing. You were very successful at that as well. And what got you out of drag racing and into truck pulling? Just new challenge?
I saw room for improvement on design and
Okay.
stuff like that. Because when we first took that 75, I'd bought that truck to pull a lime spreader, fertilizer spreader, and we decided one evening to take it to a truck pull, and we won.
And so that got you started on the
Yeah,
truck pulling.
yeah.
So then, but you had already stopped drag racing, or were you doing drag racing yet?
Yeah, no, I've done drag
You had
racing
done
by
drag
then.
racing, so you'd already given up.
Yeah.
Decided to be responsible once by then.
Well, I had 2 boys to send to college and a daughter.
Yeah. So, truck pulling. Go back to the truck pulling. I mean, from the beginning to the end, it wasn't a super long career. What's some of the things you're proudest of out of that experience?
3 years, 3 championships
Yeah,
with multiple trucks.
sailing it out the gate at Sedalia. They tried to set the odds against me.
What was that?
The other Hemis were our biggest competition.
Right. So what was the story at Sedalia that they tried to set the odds against you?
Well,
You're last.
the tech walked around with this bag and he said, draw your number. I couldn't find the number. He just turned the bag over and one number fell out. Number 30. And I was the point leader.
Right.
I get number 30. You know, the last pullers usually got it pretty tough.
Right.
So, but that worked against him because the sun sets in the west of the grandstand. The track was shaded, the moisture started coming up, the bite was getting good.
Right.
That's when I told the boys, I said, put her in high gear. We had to pull out a clip pin and move the shift rail and then put her back in because it was building so much torque, it wanted to take itself out of gear if you didn't
So you had to hold
it in. But we sailed it out the gate. And the announcer, of course, he got everybody riled up while I was hooking up the sled.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I think he can beat them Chevys. He can beat them Ford. You know, some of the crowd would boo, and we sailed her out the gate. And the crowd just went wild. He says, "Hey," he said, "turn that thing around and come back up here and get your trophy." So I did. And of course, when the Fair Queen handed me the trophy and gave me a big kiss, all the cameras were gone. And I think some of the pullers thought they were going to blackmail me.
Oh, I got you. Yeah, they don't do that anymore. I remember that with demo derbies back in the Derby cars. They'd always have the Fair Queen come up and give you a kiss or something. I'm like, yeah, those days are gone. They don't do that. But well, you've had a very storied career in motorsports in general. Whether you believe it or not, I firmly believe you changed the landscape of truck pulling with what you built here. And whether people did it immediately, even once you stopped, clearly they could see what you had done and start to advance themselves past, I mean, you know, against their competition by doing the things you did. So,
well, like I say, I've been this close so many times to calling Shy diesel and
it's not too
start
late.
on another
It's not too late.
diesel puller, but at my age,
hey, how much you got all the time now to have fun?
I know it. I know it.
A good 3.0 diesel, that'd be the way to run. So, nope, I can see the things you did there changed it. Do you know where that truck went once did you sell the chassis? Did you keep it for years?
I sold the Outlaw to a Ford lover.
Okay.
Down to St. Louis. He pulled it for a year or two, and didn't he put a Ford body on it or something?
Yeah, he did something silly.
He screwed it up.
So then it just kind of disappeared, and you haven't been able to find it or see it since.
Well, the body went to a sand digger, or what do you want to call it? A hill
Sand
climber.
rail.
Right.
Rail, okay, gotcha.
And then we actually had a customer, a farmer from northern Iowa, and I cannot remember his name. I was trying to dig through my phone this morning. But he's also got a house out in Island Park, Idaho. Really nice place I've been to, and he's got a big car collection. But we built a Kelderman truck for him, and he was here. Him and Dad were talking, and they had looking at the picture, and Dad talked about how that he thought that body went to Creston, and the guy's like, "Well, I got a bunch of friends in Creston." And about 6 months later, he calls me up, leaves a message. He goes, "Hey, I found your dad's Jeep," and I'm like, "What?" And yeah, he goes, "Yeah, it's setting this. Here's the number." And
This is the baby elephant.
the baby elephant Jeep,
So
of course,
once
had been
the body-
repainted.
Okay, so when the body came off and you went to the Dodge truck body, you put the body back on a Jeep?
No, he sold it.
Sold the body?
I sold it to a guy at Creston that had a blown Hemi exhibition truck,
Okay.
Max
And then he
Smith.
okay. And then, go ahead. Sorry,
Yeah, so I
didn't interrupt you.
No, so I get the number and I call this guy and he answers the phone and I'll never forget. I'm like, "Hey, Jeff Kelderman here on school. I understand you got a Jeep body behind your house or something?" Like, yeah. I said, the white, yeah. And and I'm like, "Can you send me a picture of it?" And he's like, "Yeah, but it's going to have to be tomorrow. I'm at the hospital. My wife just had a baby." So, and I just said, "Well, what do you want for it?" He goes, $500. I said, "Well, I'll take it." And he goes, "All righty." So he called me back and sent me a picture of it. And so we ended up getting it back. And this is the only picture I had, but I hired my friend Scott take us, up
Yes.
at Underground Art Studios in Cedar Rapids, and I gave him that picture, and he literally
And that's what's up here on
he
the
restored it.
wall
Yep.
behind us.
So
Yeah.
so it was cut in half this way, and then I wanted to put it on the wall, so we cut it in half this way, and then mated it
Right.
together.
And put it back. So you have the whole body side. Scott Takis, as you mentioned, does some incredible work. If anybody, I'll do a shout out for him. Underground Studios, just phenomenal. He's done, a lot of work for your family, but he's done a lot of work for other, even tractor pullers.
Yep.
There's some incredible
He's one of the best airbrush artists in the country.
Yeah.
See, when I built that chassis and bought that body, the body was CJ6.
It was a short one.
It was the short one.
Okay.
You couldn't get the long
Okay.
body. So we cut it right there in the door panel and lengthened it and put a section in.
So that's why it would have been.
So then it classified as the CJ6, longer wheelbase, which we needed.
extended. You needed all that.
I wanted all the wheelbase I could get.
So that's why you had to go back and basically connect the body back and rebuild it back to where it was. Well, that's awesome when you find that stuff. It seems it's really difficult sometimes to find those old pieces when they're gone. I mean,
Well, he calls me up and he says, we're going to have a little deal out here at the factory on Sunday afternoon. You got to be here by 1:30.
and you had no idea what he was
So
doing.
I
did
pull
not
up
have it.
here and I see his car and the other pit crew member's car. You know what? All these other cars. And I walk in here, here's all these people in the install room. Look, he's standing over there by one of the roll around benches and a big sheet over it. Dad, come here. So I walk over there and he whips that sheet off. I said, well, that explains why my crew's here.
Interesting. So you were in on it. You knew that it was coming, or yeah.
And then the other guy, Fergie, you guys haven't seen him for 20 years?
Yeah,
He's lives 2-3 hours away.
yeah.
So he
I haven't
came
seen him
over.
since.
Yeah.
We were able to do that. The reason I was asking about transmissions, I know Chris Fountain, I don't know if you're familiar with him, built a lot of them. And we did that with an old modified gentleman down by Drakesville, found one up in Minnesota and restored it. And we ended up just shooting an episode in my shop here a couple months ago. And so at the Johnson County Fair in Iowa City, we got Chris there and got all his buddies there. And then all of a sudden, here we came driving that sucker down the track, and he's sitting there going, what the world is going on here? And, the crazy thing, you'll have to listen to the episode. The crazy thing is that transmission he built, and he asked, the guy that restored it asked him, he said, how do you want it built? And he said, just build it like you're building it for yourself. And it's the last transmission Chris Fountain ever built. He had sold his business, and they picked it up 2 days before he walked out the door. And he didn't know he was doing it at the time. He had no idea till that thing came down. So it's just fun to see some of those pieces of history come back. When you look back over your career, Gary, one of the reasons we do these Breaking Barriers podcasts is just to preserve history, so that future generations and people can understand, what it went in behind the scenes. When I think of that, I think of legacy a lot. When you look back over the years of what you've done in motorsports, if you were going to describe your legacy that you've had the impact on motorsports, what would that look like to you, or what do you think that is?
Well, I guess I like to think we left a little impact on drag racing.
Right.
Because we were using a car that launched better than anybody else's.
Right.
Like I say, we won every race right off the line. Truck pulling was efficiency, getting the power to the ground, getting the torque to the wheels and everything. I think we made a few changes in truck pulling.
You made a lot. You wrote the standard.
So, yeah, it's like the president of Tri-State said when we came to the meeting. He said, we all know why we're here.
Right.
One truck.
One truck. And that would have been, at that point, everybody would have still had a radiator up in front of the motor, more than likely.
Yeah.
And you were already running it into the frame rails and doing different things. And I know that technology started to carry out in the modifieds and hot rods even then after that. So there were other forms that they were taking some of your ideas and using them.
One of the things I've been thinking about was, it was either Macon, Missouri, or maybe Monroe City. We went to a pull, and the gearing was so perfect that about every 20 feet, the rev limiter would hit. And when the rev limiter hit, that avgas would burn in the pipe and shoot a flame. And that put the crowd on their feet. And I mean, every 20 feet, it did that going down the track. Oh, yeah. And the crowd was roaring before he ever got to the end. Of course, he won the pull anyway.
Right.
But, you know, it just put an extra spectacle into it. And I often thought, yeah, anymore they try and burn fuel in the pipe just to
get some
get
effect.
the pyro
Right.
effect, you know.
Right. Jeff, as you look back as a child growing up around all of this, I'm sure it felt normal to you, but at some point you had to realize your dad was doing special things. What was it like? I mean, you shared a little bit about just the people in and out and all of that, but
Yeah, the truck pulling. I mean, that was second, third, fourth grade,
Right.
right in there. Where you're highly influenced on. Loved watching NFL on Sundays and loved watching the trucks being built out here. But the truck pulling. I mean, that's we're good friends with the Petties. From the
Right.
Kyle Petty charity ride, and Kyle always talks about racing's just what we did. Well,
Right.
for that 3 years, that's just what was going on. Is where's the truck? It was, where's Dad going next, and how many of these can I talk him into letting me ride along? Because obviously you got a 7-8-year-old running around the fairgrounds. You really don't have time to be watching them. So a lot of it depended on if my cousins were going or whatever. So the three of them, the oldest cousin had to watch us younger ones. But yeah, it was just an absolute blast jumping off the bus. I mean, I still have pictures. I remember one time they'd say they loaded the sled a little light, but I mean, I remember him going around, not going past, but going and going clear into like the middle of turn one. Do you remember that? Mm-hmm. I mean, just kept going.
where was what track was that at?
Do you remember that one?
Here?
Oh, that was here?
I think so.
I just remember taking off because you'd always run down, and back then, I mean, there's there are no fire suits. There's no anything. It's just tank tops and open face helmet and go. No gloves or anything. And of course, as a kid, I mean, you could damn near walk along. I mean, it was just so just we stand along track. We'd run along the side of it, and we'd try to sprint. See if we could. Obviously going 25 mile an hour, you're not catching. But boy, we lived vicariously through that, and the biggest memories are just always hearing that start up when I was supposed to be going to bed for school the next day, and all of a sudden, boom, she'd fire up, and that was the most fun.
Your wife or your mother must have been a very easygoing lady.
Yeah, it was a good time to. I was just young in the '70s, but man, between the music and the cars and everybody driving old Mopars and hot rods and vans and side pipes. I mean, that was just the way
It obviously affected his brain.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, we're sitting in here in the Kelderman garage, Jeff's garage here. We've got a replica of the Joe Dirt car. I understand you've got
we got the real one. Buddy
one
bought
as
it.
well. There's Vipers and a lot of other cool cars around. So Mopar's been a big part of the Kelderman family.
Yep.
What's something that you'd like to leave with the audience? That you just the experience of it all and being around Gary going through all these different stages.
How old are you then when that was going on?
I'd been 20-some,
Okay.
low 20s.
Low 20s. I remember.
Yeah. There's 10 years between us.
Okay. And then what were you? I mean, it's just you were enthralled with.
Just got wrapped up in it,
Yeah.
like that kind of stuff.
Yep.
Had Mopars.
Well, I want to thank the three of you for sitting down and doing this. The other thing, I guess, Jeff, you do raise a lot of money for charity and different causes. One, you mentioned Kyle Petty, and I know his charity ride does a lot of things with the Victory Junction Gang to children's camp and raises money for that. And so if you want to maybe just throw a little plug on what you've done there, because I know the Petty family's been here at your facility.
Yeah, sure have. So I did my first Kyle Petty charity ride across America in 2002. and still doing it. So, you know, it's a big part of my life. The money the money raised from the camp is for Victory Junction Game Camp in Randleman, which is for kids with chronic ill diseases. They'll have different camps during the summer, different, one might be muscular dystrophy, one might be burn, and one might be amputees, whatever. It's full-blown hospital, it's full self-funded. And 2 years ago we stopped here and had lunch here, the whole group here, and we had Richard and Kyle and Kenny Wallace, the whole gang here.
Quite a few years ago, the ride stopped at the camp. Yep. He came home from the ride. He said, "Dad, you wouldn't believe it." He said, "You see those little kids walking around, no hair, and you think, just pulls your heart out."
Yeah, it sure does.
Those are the exact words.
Yeah.
Pulls your heart out.
Well, you guys have fortunately had, life's been good to you guys, and I'm sure there's been a lot of hardship too, but to give back to a larger cause than yourself is very admirable as well. I appreciate that.
We laser cut the kneeling soldier silhouettes.
Okay.
And I probably give away in the neighborhood of 1,000 of them a year.
Okay.
To veterans. Several restaurants keep them on display behind the counter.
Okay.
Give one to every veteran that comes in. And quite a few of the VFWs around Iowa, we make 4-footers, 2-footers, and then we make the little ones. But the veterans really appreciate that.
Right. No,
we can't do enough for them.
So kids with chronic illness, I know you support, obviously, veterans. We all need to be very grateful that we even have the ability to sit here today because of what people have sacrificed. So I want to thank you for that. Are there some other causes you want to mention that you guys have supported over the years?
Just your various local charities that being a business, celebrating our 55th year. Dad started the business in 1970. So been around for a long time and aren't going anywhere anytime soon.
Well, I thank you guys again. Thank you for joining us on Breaking Barriers podcast. This episode is special to me just for multiple reasons. One, I love to see how the technology has changed and progressed through time. And Gary here clearly has been a big part of that with the trucks that he had built and how he built those. Just want to thank Gary and Jeff as well for all the charity efforts that they do and give back to the community. Again, want to do a shout out to Kelderman's Garage. It's find it out on YouTube. They shoot a lot of clips and put a lot of information out about the things that they're into, motorcycles, cars, and the like. And then just they'll highlight some of the charity events that they get involved into. Find them out on social media. And check out Kelderman Manufacturing. They really serve the community well. And when I say community, it's much larger than just even our local state. So with that, we thank you for joining us.
Breaking Barriers.